Okay, so I'd like to get started. Um, Probably the most important thing that I'd like you to get from this presentation is the fact that things in Japan are not going to change. Um, a lot of people are, I got an email from somebody saying, oh, I'd like to have information about how to tour in Japan after the vaccine shows up, after there's a vaccine. That's not going to happen. So Japan, especially being the country that it is not going to easily open up and let other people come in. So the main point of my presentation here is to give you the tools to focus on building yourself in Japan over the next year or couple of years, so that when there is an opportunity to come, you will have a much stronger presence, a much stronger focus than just coming here straight off the bat. Okay, so I'm going to go into share here and here. Okay, and start with this. All right, so I hope that you'll be able to get some tips from this presentation, and I hope I'll be able to answer a lot of your questions that you have. So I'll go on and get started. So first, I'd like to explain the aspect, the angle that I'm doing this session from. Okay. There's a lot of information on the music market in Japan and other stuff that you can Google and you can find pretty easily. So what I decided to do is, the angle of this presentation is I'm taking it from the angle of how Japanese people see their own culture, how Japanese people look at their own music industry, music business. And that, I think, can give you a better understanding of a different approach, a non-foreigner approach to marketing your music here. So first, you have to understand Japanese business culture. It is a lot of old people, managers, senior managers are in charge. The way that they run their company is the old style. And looking at this picture, basically the Japanese younger have to, because of the culture, they have to bow down to the older management. Now, this guy in the picture, the younger guy on the right, he's probably going "Arr, arr," inside his head, but outside he's saying yes, 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 okay. So regardless of what happens in Japan, it is, let's see, it is a top-down style of management. The top makes the decision, and the lower managers and regular staff basically follow along, regardless of whether they want to or whether they think the manager's an idiot or his idea is terrible. They're forced to follow along because that's how the culture demands that they act in basic Japanese business. And to demonstrate that, I have this example, group think. So this is actually somewhat humorous. So the guy in the center with the blue shirt standing up, he's saying, so this idea, what do you guys think of this idea? So the girl in the far left with the question mark, she's saying the blue is actually what she's thinking. So the blue says, well, if everyone else is going along with it, then, and then what she says is, it's okay. The guy next to him is saying, oh, I think it's cool. I think it's a good idea. So he honestly thinks it's a good idea. The other guy with a star in front of him, with his elbows on the table, He's saying, I actually have no idea what's going on, is what he's thinking. But, so it's, quote, in his head, I actually have no idea what's going on. And he says, it's okay. But it's okay, is what he actually says. And then the guy in the far right is saying, let's see, doesn't really matter to me, is what he's thinking. It's okay, I think, is what he says. So the response, the actual vocal response from everyone is, it's okay. But they're all thinking different things. Now, why aren't they saying what they think? Well, they're not saying what they think because of the concept of groupthink, conformity. Everyone in Japan is expected to follow along with what the group thinks. It doesn't always work that way, but in business, Japanese businesses, in order to make decisions, that's the basic process. Japanese do not like conflict. They do not like arguing. So this is representative of how Japanese companies operate. So in looking at that, you've got the concept of digital transformation. Companies basically changing over to digital from analog. Analog fax machines, written contracts, heavy paperwork, digital, as you know, digital scanning, digital contracts, and so on. So looking at this graph, you've got 895 Tokyo-based companies asked about it. 61.6% of them have no plan of changing. They have no active plan of changing over. 36 are changing over. 1.9 have no idea. They don't know what's going on at all. So why is this? Again, it's basically the older generation is in charge. They are behind. So much of Japanese culture, business culture, is still in the 20th century. So looking at this graph, why is it so slow? Looking at Japanese companies compared to other countries, the US, the UK, Germany, you can see basically Japan, this graph says 11.2% are changing over. 8.2% are considering it. 2.4 have thought about it and decided not to do it. 19.8 are not thinking about it at all. And then, of course, 58.4 don't know. Don't know means what? Don't know means they don't see the value in changing over. They don't understand how digital helps them to grow their business. So again, it's older people in charge, older people looking at the way they used to do business and still do, the way the world used to do business, and not understanding how to change over. Perfect example of that, Facebook. Facebook didn't catch on in Japan until maybe like 8 years after it was already launched. Smartphones. Smartphones didn't, the Apple, the iPhone, didn't start selling until 3 years. It had already been 3 years after it had already been released. So, and now it's big. Everyone buys it. So it's about that initial understanding of how the new concept fits into the Japanese society, the Japanese business model. So moving to music, looking at the Japanese music market, as you probably know, recorded music, CDs are still big in Japan. This is a graph from 2018 showing the fact that streaming is 54% of the digital music market in Japan. Downloads, 40%. Ringtones. Remember ringtones? Little bit. Others, 3%. However, if you look at this graph and compare it to this graph, you will see a stark difference. Recorded music, meaning CDs, basically CDs, are huge in Japan. Digital music, 21%. So, why? Well, I saw an example online that pointed out, again, exactly what I mentioned before. Record companies don't understand how to make music with the digital music model. Recorded music. If you know, for example, AKB48 and all the dancing girl type groups, they have a money-making business model with that. If you buy a CD and a T-shirt, you can get, you can take a picture with, one of the performers. Or if you buy a CD online before the concert, you get, free tickets, or you get free something, something. They put together a package that they can sell to the audience, to the music fans, before the music concert. With digital music, you just stream it and that's it. Along with, in the CD package itself, they have stickers, they have collectibles that people like to collect. I saw an article, totally unbelievable. Some people will buy 1,000 CDs to get, all the cards that they can get to reach the next level of whatever prize they can get, or who knows. So this is why, part of the reason why recorded music CDs is highly valued in Japan. Also, Japanese like physical things. They like the souvenir. They like to be able to say, I went there, I was here. I have a, memorabilia from this event. Can't do that with digital music. So again, it's that culture that is really entrenched that is holding back the change to digital music. Live music scene. So these are some pictures from huge venues to small little cafes. This is what Japanese are used to doing. They're used to going out. Why? Well, one, Japanese houses are very small. Space is limited in Japan. So people enjoy going out to be with their friends. They rarely invite their friends over and, sit down and talk, or no, they go to Starbucks, they go to coffee shop, they go out and hang out. So live venues are definitely popular places that people want to go. Live music venues, not so much. Why? Because people want to go out, they want to talk. Live music venues, they're too loud, you can't talk. So, in general, live music venues are for musicians, their friends, and people who really like music. So for musicians who come to Japan really expecting to go see, packed live venues and other things, it's not going to happen unless you have a big fan base. So moving on. The current live scene is this. On the left side, you see a venue that has closed, a very famous venue in the Shibuya area that has closed. On the right side, you have a venue where a musician's playing, people are distanced, and this is the best you can get with a live venue right now. You can't, it's limited capacity. Probably the maximum capacity of this venue is maybe 80 people. Japanese people don't want to go out to venues right now, so you've got the people, I don't know if you can call them brave or stupid or whatever, but you've got the people who go out and, you know, see live music, but there aren't many of them. There was just something on the news, musical theater opened up a couple of, maybe like last week, and ran, I think, 12 shows. There were confirmed 850 confirmed cases of people. No, sorry, my mistake. I think there were a total of 850 people who went, and like 100 and something of those people were infected. So they had to trace down, and the show was immediately closed. But that's basically where things are right now. People are not going out. A lot of live venues are closed, and musicians are stuck. They don't really know what to do. So you have to go to this, live streaming. Live streaming is what some of these venues are doing. George, do you recognize the picture at the top? That's Verret, where you played in Kobe. There's the table in the back where you're selling merchandise. So what they're doing is they are inviting musicians to come and perform, and they're live streaming it. I'm not really sure how successful this business model is, but they're charging online for tickets. People buy tickets and they watch online, and the musicians get to play, and the venues probably make a little money, and that's it. So that's pretty much where life is right now, live streaming in venues, and otherwise some musicians are trying for the, you know, social distancing live performances and so on, but that's about it. There's also virtual in terms of startups. Now, this is an entertainment startup called Virtual Shibuya. It's joined with communications company AU, and they have created a virtual experience in Shibuya with different events and different performances and activities and other stuff. I encourage you to check that out and see what's going on there. So right now it's not really open to the public and it's not in English, but that is an avenue that may expand. I don't want to say may expand, it will expand, and it may expand into the entertainment live music area. Just a matter of, you know, can the producers of this event figure out how to make money from live music? If they can figure it out, then it will expand into live music. But yeah, Virtual Shibuya, check that out. Next year. So this is my guess as to what is going to happen next year in Japan. I think with, especially in Tokyo, a growing number of infections, it's gone from under 100 a day, maybe 3 weeks ago, to about 240 now per day, or yesterday. The Japanese government has created a quote-unquote go-to campaign, which is encouraging domestic travel between prefectures and other stuff. However, I saw on the news yesterday, Tokyo is not to be included in that. The go-to campaign specifically says go to anywhere except Tokyo. So with this happening right now in July, and of course people are expecting things to get worse as the temperature gets, you know, colder in the fall and winter, how in the world does Tokyo expect to have safely people coming to Japan next July? In my opinion, it isn't gonna happen. So get some more water. So that's the first thing. Second thing, more live venues are going to be closing. So far, you've got people trying to hold on, live venues trying their best, but I'm not confident that things are going to stay such that live venues can support each other, can be supported. But one thing to know is that actually there are far too many live venues in Japan. The live venues scene is oversaturated, way oversaturated. So some live venues closing is not going to really damage the performance opportunities as much as maybe some other cultures. And this is a huge problem. In general, Japanese is wary of foreigners. When everything's going smoothly, it's okay. But when things start to get rough, foreigners are not really welcome in Japan. This is a news clip from about 5 days ago. Japan decided to restrict entry to even foreign residents. Residents who, permanent residents. Residents who had permanent resident status were not even allowed. They had children, they had spouses in Japan. They were not allowed to come into the country. So if you've got that situation, how in the world do you think visitors, tourists, are going to be able to come in? So again, it's not going to happen. So with these probable things, my suggestion is to focus on social media. So I'd like to explain very briefly what is the social media usage in Japan. Line, do you guys know Line? Line is a Korean based, basically it's a Korean company that has a huge presence in Japan. That is the biggest form of social media in Japan. Next is Twitter, after that Instagram, after that Facebook, and then TikTok. Now, Instagram came into Japan, I think, in 2016. Facebook came into Japan in 2008, I believe. And you can see there's a huge difference. Why? Why do people not use Facebook? Well, basically, to use Facebook, you have to give up a lot of personal information. Facebook is not very private. Japanese people are private. They want to stay as anonymous on their platform as possible. Why? Go back to the groupthink phenomenon. If you've got people on Facebook or people on Japanese people on social networks saying what they think honestly, and their name is attached to it, then you've got problems. It creates conflict. It creates disharmony. So on Twitter, you can create, a fake name and tweet all you want, and you can hide behind that. You can express your own opinions openly, and no one has to know it's really you. So that is why Facebook has such a weak presence in Japan, plain and simple. Instagram, Japanese people love uploading pictures of food and pictures of where they did this and where they did that. So that's why Instagram has grown in popularity. Line basically caters to the Japanese culture, Japanese personality. So that is why it has grown more than others. So let me break it down by age group. Basically, the age group that you really want to focus on as musicians from overseas is those in the upper 20s, their 30s, and in the 40s. Why? Because they have the understanding, a better understanding of international the value of international music, international relationships, and others. The younger generation are there, but they're kind of half and half. The teens, forget it. You know, they're really sucking into what the Japanese marketing machine is giving them. The people in their 20s, they've had an opportunity to maybe travel overseas, so they've seen the value of what's of international relationships. So 20s, 30s, and 40s. Basically, they, in terms of total usage, is YouTube. YouTube is the king in Japan, basically. But it's not really regarded as a social network, a social media network. It's regarded as a media platform where people can go and see things and then talk about them on their Line, Twitter, other Facebook accounts. Facebook is higher than Twitter, Instagram on this platform. Why? Because it is seen as the preferred way to communicate among people of this age. Now, if you go back to the previous Instagram, Instagram is much bigger with the younger people. I once, I'm 50, so I once talked to a girl, Japanese girl in her 20s, and I was like, "Do you have a Facebook account?" She said, "No." I said, "Why?" She's like, Facebook is something that like my parents use. So it's that image of people who are older, in their 40s, 50s, and so on, use Facebook. So if you want to reach people, use YouTube, use Facebook, use Twitter. However, the most effective is visual content. Use YouTube first. Upload videos, whatever. Use what you have to use. Make it visual, and then go from there. How? Well, first off, add popular Japanese hashtags. Whatever, Google popular hashtags, popular YouTube hashtags, add them to your videos. Whatever is booming in Japan, add that to your videos. Next, learn some simple Japanese. Right now, you're not really worried about speaking Japanese, but if you learn Japanese hashtags, you can add those into your videos as video hashtags as well. This phrase, yoroshiku onegai shimasu, is very simple Japanese. It's used everywhere to basically mean if you please, if you don't mind, if you could, please, pay attention to what I'm doing. Please help me out. Please something, something. So it's a very polite, it's a very, I'm looking forward to meeting you type of phrase. Next, and this is very, very important if you want to make progress in Japan. Online relationships with Japanese musicians. The most important way to get fans is through word of mouth. Japanese people trust their friends. So if you make friends with a Japanese person, they like what you're doing, they will spread it on to their friends. Perfect example. Huh? Uh-oh. Okay. Perfect example. So this is one of my clients, Brittany Nicole. So I connected her with another musician that I've been working with at Hard Rock Cafe, Grace. And Brittany has introduced Grace on her Facebook page. Now, Brittany has, tens of thousands of views on her YouTube videos and other things. So she writes, a small introduction about, her now, new friend Grace in Japan. And Grace, in turn, does the same thing to her Japanese friends about Brittany Nicole. And already, this happened, as you can see, June 27. Already, Grace's friends in Japanese are saying, wow, I can't wait to see, I can't wait to see her perform. I'm looking forward to this. And Brittany's friends are saying, wow, Grace is so cute. I'd love to see. It's already starting, and that's what, 2 weeks. So create mutual relationships, and they will pay off. And then up at the top, Pecha Kucha night. So I did a presentation just last night. Are any of you familiar with Pecha Kucha? So it's a Japanese presentation concept created by Japanese people. Very simply put, they got tired of seeing Japanese people creating boring presentations where basically they spend 20 minutes talking about nothing. So they created a concept of 20/20, which is 20 PowerPoint slides done 20 seconds each. So you have 20 slides, 20 seconds for each slide. You focus on the bare essentials, and you get it done in 20 seconds, and you do 20 of those, and you're finished. So it forces presenters to really streamline to the essential content. So I did that last night about KMC, and after I finished, the leader of the group said, wow, it would be great to feature some of your musicians on because they have like breakout rooms, break time. So he was like, it'd be great to feature some of your musicians during our breaks. Maybe they could come in and play one song or something like that. So join Pecha Kucha night in Japan. There's one in Osaka, there's one in Nishinomiya. I can give you the information later. There's one in Tokyo. So join that simply as a spectator. There are opportunities for breakout rooms. When there's breakout rooms, you introduce yourself. You say, oh, I'm a musician. I'm definitely interested. I really loved the presentation that, Miss ABC did. Would it be possible to join in and something? Start making relationships. In Japan, you can only make progress through relationships. You cannot just go and knock on someone's door and expect them to invite you in. It's not going to happen. So that is my suggestion on how you can start moving forward. Because again, you're not going to, if you think you can start making plans for Japan next year, I would say move that idea to a plan C. First, start looking at how you can sell yourself virtually, and then how you can sell yourself to make money, and then as a plan C, how you can look at getting here in Japan physically. So that's what I have to say. I look forward to your questions, and that's it. Thank you. So whatever questions you have, feel free.
First question.
Uh-huh.
You said that physical records are still a big thing in Japan, and are there any contacts that from over the seas? I mean, that you can send them a pack of CDs and they would be selling it.
Okay, say that again. Are there any you?
I mean stores, yeah, musical stores that sell music.
Okay, basically, I didn't include this in my presentation, but just forget it. One, the CDs that are selling in the stores, probably 90% of them are Japanese. They're popular Japanese musicians. The other 10% are overseas artists that have record label representation in Japan to push the sales.
I see.
Foreign musicians who maybe come and play and try and hand their CDs and maybe even get their CDs selling in Tower Records and so on, they are not selling. Japanese people will not buy things that they don't know. I mean, I personally, I go in there and I see all these CDs from it. There are millions of them. So the physical CDs, don't worry about it. Physical CDs are for when you're here and you can, hand them a physical copy. Otherwise, look at downloading, streaming platforms.
What streaming platforms do they use?
Good question. Spotify. Spotify is here, but it has never taken off. Spotify is run by, I think, Spotify Japan, and they don't know how to sell it. They don't know how to market it in Japan. Probably Apple Music is the best way to go.
That's nice. Good.
There are Japanese streaming services, but one, they're all in Japanese, and two, Japanese people are not going to go there looking for non-Japanese music.
I see.
Yeah, you basically have to cater to the I love non-Japanese musicians that I've never heard of market. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, sure, yes.
Okay, cool.
What does Line Network do?
Line, it's quite embarrassing. I mean, honestly, it's for younger people. I looked up in order to do this presentation. I looked up Line Music, and it's just like it's a bunch of silly cartoon-looking girls with makeup doing videos of themselves. Serious musicians don't market themselves online. I think it's turned out to be that cute, kawaii Japanese culture type of aspect. Otherwise, it's basically an Asian version of Twitter.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Thank you.
Other questions?
Hi, I want to ask something. How do you, when we are far away online and we want to introduce ourselves to people in the industry, in the Japanese industry, if we don't speak Japanese, what is the best way to approach them in a manner that respects them and that they see that we are serious and that we want to come in?
Okay, good question. So, as I said, you cannot accomplish anything knocking on the front door. It's not going to happen. You have to just start making contacts with other musicians and finding musicians who have contacts with record labels or people in power or so on that can introduce you to their contacts. And through conversation with that musician, they will understand your personality. They will guide you to the musician, to the industry people who cater to what you're looking for. They speak English. And I mean, a perfect example of that is I have contacts with basically a Japanese musician. She grew up in Nashville singing country and music. She came back here. I started booking her at Hard Rock Cafe. She's a great singer. Through conversation and years of communication, I put her on the panel discussion 2 years ago at KMC. She said, "Oh man, I just did a panel discussion with this guy who used to be president of Avex Publishing in Tokyo. You want me to introduce you to him?" I was like, "Yes, please." She introduced me to him. I met him through Facebook. He speaks flawless English. I met with him in Tokyo, sat down in a restaurant. I told him about KMC. He said, anything you need, I'm interested in helping out with KMC. That's it. I climbed the ladder simply through contacts. Now I have someone who is up there. He can introduce me to his people. So that's how you have to start. You have to start at the bottom, communicating with musicians who you can connect with, and they will help you to climb the ladder.
Okay, thank you so much. Makes sense.
Sorry,
thank you.
wait. Say that. I turned my volume down. Okay, say it again.
I just said thank you, and it makes sense. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. And again, I mean, like I said, senior management. That's how it has to go up the ladder to the top.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next.
Does Pecha Kucha night work online?
Yes. So last night was live streaming. You can check. Let's see. The website is Pecha Kucha Nishinomiya. Pecha Kucha Nishinomiya is the one that I did. And let's see, I forgot. I think the guy who runs it, his name is Robert. But you can just Google that on Facebook and it'll come up. It'll show you probably what I did. He took a screenshot last night, so I may be on there. And he said, you know, I'm willing, I'm interested. Maybe the next one they have is in September. Maybe we can work on organizing the date to collaborate with KMC. So there's that potential right there.
Great, thank you. Is it like TED Talk? I mean,
it is similar, but one, Pecha Kucha is much more streamlined. I mean, you know, you have to be on top of your stuff. You can't waste time. And it's also Pecha Kucha allows you to promote anything you want. One girl was on there. She's talking about how basically trying to educate the audience about what is Down syndrome. When she was in high school, she made fun of kids with Down syndrome. Now her brother has Down syndrome. So it has caused her to really educate herself and learn more about what is Down syndrome. So she did that through a series of 20 slides. Other questions?
Virtual Shibuya, is it like a online streaming platform? Because the graphics was there. Is it like a mixture of some concerts or shows and some computer graphics, or what is that?
Well, you really have to take a look to see. It's life in Shibuya during the lockdown.
I see.
You can't go out and do stuff, so they created a virtual, something like Second Life. They created a virtual version where you can sit at home, but you can still enjoy some of the same things that you would do if you were walking around Shibuya. They mapped it out virtually, so you're walking down the same streets, the same stores are there. You go in one place and, you know, you open up and it's a dance club and, you know, stuff like that. So that's
pretty cool.
That's what they did there. A company that I do training classes with is trying to do that with Osaka as well.
So they're trying to expand. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
And the only reason it kind of got there was because of the help of the communications company, AU.
Thank you.
So does it mean that there might be a way in the future where bands, like if we have the way or the engines to create avatars of known bands that will play in this virtual Shibuya, this is what they're going to? Are they trying to create, like, also for known artists?
again, my assumption is they already have that for the huge artists.
Mm-hmm.
Because the huge artists are run by the companies that can easily just pick up a phone and reach out to the people who are organizing it.
Of course.
So that business model is already there, how to make money with that. Whether they can understand how to make money doing the same concept with band Joe Blow, band XYZ, I don't know. But if they can figure out how to do that, most likely what they will do is they will charge these bands to get on that
Yes.
platform. Because
Mm-hmm.
they have
Mm-hmm.
no idea otherwise how to make money from it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once the demand is there, they will figure out how to do it, but it's not going to really be productive for the musicians. I mean,
And what
that's basically the same business model for live houses. Live houses in Japan, most of them are pay to play.
Mm-hmm.
The venue charges 6 different bands, the equivalent of $200 $200 US to play for a night. They set them up with all the backline and the lights show and so on, and it's up to the band to sell themselves to their fans to get them in there if they don't want to pay that money.
And
Generally,
how many people are using virtual Shibuya right now?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
This concept was introduced to me maybe a month ago, so I really haven't had time to focus on it. But I mean, it is growing. If you look at it, you'll see there are a lot of events that have happened in the past. Whether people now that they can go out, whether that has decreased the number of people that are actually using it, I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Cool. Very cool.
Okay, so about 13 minutes left. Any other questions? Let's see. Yuval, you can type your questions if you have anything. Other than that, let's see. Take the market industry reps. Okay. Norton has given me a question. I had download Chrome. I have no microphone installed. Okay. You have no mic. You have a question?
Maybe no.
Streaming. Okay, good.
Okay.
So he asked me to maybe say something about streaming. So one of the venues that I've worked with for KMC over the last several years has switched over to live streaming. They basically invite the bands up on stage and they stream it live. Okay, exactly. They stream it live, and I contacted him a couple of days ago in preparation for this webinar to ask, would it be possible, because he was more than happy to have a lot of my a lot of my bands in. George's band performed there when they performed in Japan a couple of years ago. And so I asked him, you've been cool having hosting some of the bands that I have from overseas. What about hosting them from through live stream? And he was like, well, if they come here. And I was like, no. And see, that shows that his head is not even where my head is. So I said, no. I mean, basically, you have Japanese band 1, Japanese band 2, foreign band from the UK, okay, they connect in on the club's feed and run a live stream from where they are. When they're finished, you switch back to band number 4, Japanese band number 4. And he was like, oh, okay. He'd never thought about it. And he can't answer me immediately on that. But I said, you know, it's an idea. Think about it. I'll get back to you maybe in a couple weeks, and we can, you know, talk about it more. So that is a possibility. I honestly don't think other venues, at least not many other venues, are thinking about that. So that is a possible approach. You have to look, of course, about the time difference. If you know, 6 p.m. in general, live venues broadcast live performances between 6 p.m. and 10 p.m. Japan time. So if you're not able to work with that on your own time schedule, then that's not really going to work. You could consider doing a recorded, but I don't know if that will really sell. Because you know what's the difference between that and the YouTube video? So I hope that Norton, I hope that answered your question.
Is live streaming now big in Japan? And how big?
Yes, it has. A lot of people see it as something new in terms of live streaming live music, but the younger generation have been doing it for a couple years from their own studio. And again, this is a way that they simply only have to pay for the studio time, and they can stream, they can perform in front of their friends and make new fans without having to go through the hassle of paying the money and all that other stuff. So the younger generation are saying pretty much, you know, screw you. A lot of them are saying screw you to the live venues. If you're going to force us to pay to play, then you know we'll just do our own live streaming from, you know, a studio room, and you know ask for donations from our friends. That's where live streaming has really picked up in Japan. The older generation are being forced to live stream themselves through, you know, Facebook, YouTube, live streaming, and other places.
Is there a popular link where maybe we can watch and see what is the standard of the Korean Japanese bands live streaming style? That we can see what they're doing, how does it look?
One, I would say just take a look at the past KMC Fridays. Last night was amazing. The guy was a Psych Fest, UK Psych Fest performer. He performed in UK Psych Fest a couple of times. He decorated his set with bamboo, with lights around. He had his friend to, I don't know, set up 3 cameras that he changed the angles on. It was extremely impressive. So basically, you know, when Japanese, in general, when Japanese people do their live streaming, they have a concept, they have a theme. They don't just get in front of the camera and say, oh, okay, let's go. Again, they want, it's in Japan, it's all about image, how you look, how you present yourself. So they want to show their best, especially if it's going overseas. And I mean, you can just Google Japanese live stream videos on YouTube. There'll be a bunch of stuff there, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Got a question from Toya. What about open air summer festivals? Canceled, forget it. Canceled. How about how accessible are they for foreign bands? How did COVID affect festivals? Go to the sorry, not T. JNTO website. That stands for Japanese National Tourism Organization, I think. If you want to know anything about what the situation is for traveling here in Japan, check that website. They have updated almost daily, updated regular information on who can come into the country, what events have been canceled, what is going to be run. Oh, sorry. I sent this as a private message to Norton. Everyone, JNTO website. They have all the information that you need as a non-Japanese person looking interested about how to play in Japan, how to enter the country. In terms of accessibility, forget it. You're not going to get in. Big names only. These tickets to these events are upwards of $100 US per person. You're as a no-name band in Japan, you're not going to help them bring in a crowd. They look only for bands that help them sell money. That's one of the reasons why I started KMC, because there's no way for bands to come in and get exposure if they don't have a name recognition. KMC is designed to help people come in and get a head start in making contacts and climbing the long ladder to establishing a fan base in Japan. Okay, so I've got about time for one more question if anyone has it. Yeah, definitely stay on the JNTO. How to change the perspective that people will not suddenly start paying for online concerts if they still have the option to attend for free? Do you think advising paying their answers? How to change the perspective? So Norton, is this Japanese perspective? Paying for online concerts if they still have the option to attend for free? So basically exactly what I'm doing with this webinar. I don't know if a lot of people are not attending simply because they think, oh, it'll be recorded, he'll put it on YouTube. Ain't gonna happen. If you want to see this, you're gonna have to contact me and go through the same process. You can see it on an on-demand, you can see it on an on-demand platform. So Japanese people do not give things away. I learned that when I came to Japan. You know, where can I get on the guest list? Guest list? What's a guest list? Everything in Japan costs money. Japanese people know that, and the reason is, in general, of course, with the exception of use of the internet, free things are not worth anything. Free things, the value is exactly how much you pay for them, nothing. So that's not a problem in Japan. And Japanese people are very happy to pay for something if they get good quality, no problem. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning in. I'm thinking, definitely give me some feedback on this, because I'm thinking about maybe doing another one on a different concept, maybe in a month or two. And I'll also be updating the KMC website for upcoming seminars and what we'll be doing. So thanks again. Yes, I look forward to seeing you guys again virtually in September.
Thank you.
Peace.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Bye.